So I'm just trying to bring some pressure, whatever, and let's just help to see how we can all use collective wisdom to find that element of pressure that everyone has to behave rationally in that process, professionally, respectfully in that process. There's nothing I want more than exactly these things. This is not trying to, accuse teachers or doing wrong things and so on and so on. Nothing of that kind. Let's forget about what happened before. But at the same time, I'm not the type of person who is going to sweep things under the rug and find excuses and say, well, maybe this was misinterpreted. Let's find one loophole and try to interpret this letter that this was not putting words into our mouths that we agree to that. Obviously you can hear very clearly that English is not my strength. But even I can make a clear judgment what this letter said. And it does not matter. It does not mean that all the bridges are collapsing here between us in these negotiations. It already started without respect and without professionalism. And hopefully we are going to overcome this, but at the same time, where I had these hopes right here and I was driving to actually make it different this time, well, we were put in our place. How we go from here, I don't know. That's why we are talking about this now.
Well, where we go from here, I mean, not so much to this point, but again, as you open the meeting, we've instructed our attorney to draft a letter to start the process for the 2010-11 year, and if the declaratory, depending on how the judge responds, it could be for 9-10. At the very least, it would be for 10-11, and the process will begin, depending again on that judgment. The process will begin, though, because we'll be approving a letter at our next meeting to be sent to NEA asking for negotiation. So the process is continuing. It hasn't stopped by any means.
Another question which we can basically say, obviously we have no way of, and I can just speak my mind. I'm this type of person. I'm going to tell you, maybe it's not diplomatic, but what kind of guarantee do I have that the union leadership actually tells all the membership everything what's happening? What kind of guarantee do we have? What kind of guarantee do we have that these people can actually look at the offer which was made and say, listen, we want that. Do we know this? That is actually happening? No. Now, if such offer is made public, then every teacher can read the newspaper, and I love the teachers of Tiverton. You tell me if it's bad, that's okay. But I want to hear from the people who actually are informed, as opposed to someone potentially filtering the information and saying, well, we can squeeze something more here, so let's not announce it to everyone else because that's not what we want. So that's one element. And then again, if you put it out, everyone can hear.
Just as the committee is elected, and if you don't tell the truth, you can get unelected.
Correct.
Union leadership is elected. And if they don't tell the truth, they can get unelected.
I think what you're speaking to, Jan, is a lack of trust. And you're absolutely right. If there is no trust between the union representatives and the school committee representatives, then there is no chance to reach a tentative agreement. And so I come back to the suggestion that Mrs. Polish made, that maybe we need to try putting in new players on both sides who will have a more hopeful and optimistic outlook that the other side can be trusted. Because as I hear you speak, you're right. If you do not trust that the union won't twist your words, and you do not trust that the union will tell their members what we offered, and they do not trust that the tentative agreement that somebody said, oh yeah, we think that'll work, if they don't trust that your word is your bond, and next time you'll come back and say, oh, we ran the numbers again and we can't agree to that, then we won't have productive negotiations. We do need players on both sides who feel that they have a minimum level of trust.
I agree with what you said, except the second part, which might imply that somewhere through my actions or other people who negotiated the previous contract were trying to play these games with the union, that we recalculated something and then we said we cannot afford this anymore. Was this what you were trying to say? Or?
No, I'm saying that just as you do not trust the union representatives, it may be true that because of the past experience, which was not positive for either side, they may be hesitant to trust our side unless we can send in somebody else, as I suggested, perhaps Mr. Wright.
It's my understanding that these people that are negotiating currently were not negotiating the last contract.
In my opinion,
I'm sorry, the last, one of the sticking points was that the school committee was not, quote, respecting the union enough by not having representatives there. So in order to try to start out on a good foot, not only did we have members there, but the consensus was to send the chairman and the vice chairman.
Right, which I think is the appropriate role.
but in my opinion, I think that we were all duly elected equally. And I don't think chair and vice chair, even if you read the state law and all, that doesn't mean we have any extra powers. So I think that since this election was really different than any other I've ever been in or seen in Tiverton, right up here we do represent the town. And I think we should all be there. Because we all represent different factions, sometimes of the town, and maybe the NEA, and maybe the TCC, and maybe in the middle. And I think so that somebody's not sitting there saying, I wish, if I were there, if I could go there and talk, maybe it would be better. I used to feel that way last time. I used to think, maybe if I could go sit there and talk to them. I mean, I have a great relationship with a lot of those teachers, and I am a teacher, and I understand, as Mr. Eric on both sides. I think we should all be there. It used to be done like that, right, Mr. Eric? And then with the whole negotiating team.
Right, as I said before, it's up to the committee.
The whole negotiating team, and then us, and that brings it a little broader than just two people, then reporting back.
But again, just some history, one you can speak to, is that when that happened for the 03 vote, it was very chaotic at times. The rooms were filled, and the previous committee said we want to avoid that chaos, and we'll appoint people. And again, it comes down to what 5 members. A, what are your objectives financially or contractually, the language, and how are you going to present it? It's all strategy, and it's things that this committee, before we start, needs to do. Whether or not it's an open session or not, that could be part of the discussion on strategy, or you could just make a discussion, you can take a vote here. But in the end, you have what you have. You have what you can spend, what you can offer. A part of it's finite, the other part of it's an art. It's not as simple as, you know, if I only have X to offer, you could, I don't know, pick anybody. You could, Tom Brady, you could be making a proposal, but if he's only got X to offer because that's what he's been told, it's still X. You can't lose sight of that. And while it's great if both sides can negotiate and have that trust and respect, the bottom line is you still have what you have. And right now in today's economic times, you don't have a lot. And maybe I'm stating the obvious, but there's not a whole lot on the table that's going to be in play here.